Hi everybody, and welcome to the Sugar-Free Book webinar series. My name is Karen Thomson. I would like to welcome you all and just say thank you for being here. To those of you that have joined us live and to those of you who are going to be watching the replay, it is such a privilege to be in the space with you. So while we say hi and wait for everybody to join, just type in the comment section where you guys are from. I'd love to know where you guys are from. Today, I will be discussing my personal journey of beating my addiction. And I'm so excited that this just arrived in the post. My very first copy of my brand new book, Sugar-Free, which I co-wrote with nutritionist Emily Macguire and Dr Nicole Avena. My dear friend, Dr Malhotra, wrote the foreword, as well as another foreword by Professor Noakes. It is packed full of amazing information, great meal plans, and loads of recipes. So, are you a sugar addict? Do you crave sweet treats, bread and pasta and sauce-laden food? Do you experience lethargy and mood swings as a result of blood glucose spikes and dips? Does your weight seesaw unmanageably? If you answered yes to any of these questions, your health may be at risk. Where fat used to be the enemy, scientists now point to the huge amount of sugar we consume as making us unhealthy. So yes, I am going to be sharing my personal story with you guys. Hello, Mike from Canada as well. Annelie from Joburg, Ilse, hi, gorgeous lady from Sanin, Maureen from Connecticut, Kerry from Florida, Sally from Dubai, woohoo! We are from all over the show, and I am really excited that you guys are here. So, as I said, I'm going to be sharing my personal story of addiction with you guys. I've had quite a journey myself. So I've put together a PowerPoint presentation, and I am going to be using that to share with everyone. There we go. So I hope you guys can see. I seem to have not done. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get this working properly. Okay. There we go. Can everybody see the beginning of the presentation? Can you all see that? Just type yes if you don't mind in the screen. Can you see there is a PDF? It says My Sugar-Free Story, Beating My Addiction by Karen Thomson. Can you guys see that? Looks good. Yay, Maureen. Thanks, Penny. Thanks, Annelie. Okay, fantastic. Guys, so yes, today I'm going to be sharing my story of addiction with you. And basically, everyone has a story. We all have a story. Everyone has gone through something that has changed them. And, you know, that's what unites us as humans, is not that anything but the fact that we have feelings and we can identify with each other because of our feelings. So it's not about status, it's not about race, it's not about creed, it's not about religion. It's about what we've been through and what we have conquered in order to get where we are. So my family, my grandfather was Professor Christian Barnard, and he did the first heart transplant in Cape Town, South Africa. My mother is Deirdre, his oldest daughter, my grand Loki, and my uncle Andre. You can see them all in the Barnard clan picture over there. Then that's my dad. So he's the Visser clan, and he's a happy-go-lucky guy. He's professor at the University of Western Cape, and that's him over there. That's me as a kid. As a little baby, that's me with my gran, who pretty much raised me. She played such a massive role in my life. She was like a second mother to me. And that is me polishing off a bowl of knick-knack. Can only be about 2 years of age. So my addiction to junk food and refined sugar and carbs started at a very young age. My mother, her name's Deirdre Barnard. She wrote a book called Fat, Fame and Life with Father. And this is the story of Deirdre Barnard, champion water skier, daughter of pioneer heart surgeon Chris Barnard, woman in her own right. In this wise and funny book, Deirdre stands up and tells it like it is, about life in the Barnard family, asses and losses that befell them, about the heartless intrusions into privacy that were the flip side of fame, about bereavement and true friendship, and the sustaining power of family. Deirdre Barnard is an entertaining and courageously forthright storyteller with a wicked wit. This is a moving account of her sometimes painful but ultimately uplifting personal journey. Its compassion and humor will touch us all. So my mom suffered from an eating disorder when she was young. And I do believe addiction is a genetic disease. Obviously not everybody whose parents or grandparents were addicts becomes an addict, but I think there's a very strong genetic link. So where did my addiction start, and where did this love for sugar and refined carbs really start? And I have to go look into my childhood. So I remember at the age of 4, soothing myself already with chocolate and Coca-Cola and chips. And there was a trauma that happened in my family during that time. My uncle died. My uncle died from a drug overdose, and it was the most traumatic thing I'd ever experienced. As a young child, my mother became absolutely vacant. My gran, who was busy raising me as well, also fell apart. And I was left alone, very, very much alone, and not able to deal with my feelings in any way. And it was a very, very difficult situation for the entire family to be in. I didn't find that I could find any comfort outside of myself, so I turned to external substances for my comfort. So my dad had strength during that time, and he worked full-time during the day. So at night when he would come home, he would bring me a Coca-Cola and a flake. So to me, at that young age, a Coca-Cola and a flake started representing love and happiness. When my dad came home, I felt safe, I felt loved, and I felt happy. So I learned how to soothe myself externally by the use of substances. So when I open a Coca-Cola, I open happiness, right? And Coca-Cola knows this because they use this as their marketing slogan. So I open Coca-Cola and I open happiness. And I started soothing my feelings with food. When I was happy, I would eat something as a reward. When I was sad, I would eat something to soothe myself. When I was angry, I would eat something to push those feelings down. Michael, a flake is a specific type of chocolate that we get in South Africa. It's just like a milk chocolate. I'll show you a picture of it just now. And I got stuck in this vicious cycle of guilt, restrict, binge, and these feelings of shame and guilt. So my relationship with food was not normal because I had this obsessive relationship with it. And I started modeling at the age of 16. It's a vicious, vicious industry. And being the type of person that I was that was looking for an external affirmation to being good enough, to being beautiful enough, coming from a family where everybody just seemed so perfect, it was a really hard industry for me to go in because I went in for all the wrong reasons. I went into this industry to try and find affirmation. I went into this industry to try and get people to say to me, you are good enough, you are pretty enough, you are beautiful enough, because I never believed that. So I did covers of magazines. I did, I traveled the world. I went to New York, Paris, Milan, London. I traveled all around. I worked really well, but there was still something missing. And even over here, I don't know if you can see me pointing to that picture, where I was probably at my thinnest, I still didn't feel good enough. I still pretty enough. I still didn't feel thin enough. I just felt horrible. And that's where I started a love affair with cocaine and alcohol. So my addiction moved on from sugar to bigger and better things. And I discovered cocaine. And I remember the first time I did cocaine, I felt as if I had finally found what I'd been looking for. When I did a line of coke, I felt beautiful. I felt good enough. I felt like I had the world at my feet. And I felt that I could conquer and do anything. And that was a feeling that was sorely lacking from my life because I suffered from such severe low self-esteem, hatred of myself and my body, that I needed this external substance to make me feel good. Alcohol gave me confidence, made me feel like I was capable of anything, you know. And this experience of mine, this addiction, turned to a death wish. You know, that's me at the age of 24, anorexic, with you know, nothing. My addiction had taken me so far that I woke up in the day to use. I went to bed with the help of drugs. It was a continuous downward spiral. I remember being in school, and I mean, I did quite well up to a certain point, and I know my parents had great hopes and expectations for me. And I just let go of everything. So this young girl who had the world at her feet suddenly had nothing. You know, at the age of 24, I had nothing to show for my life. I had no friends. I had nobody who wanted to be in my life anymore. It was just an absolute disaster. So nothing could fill this hole I had inside. And my external search for happiness had left me empty and alone. And at the age of 24, after losing my will, to live, but being too scared to die, I entered rehab for my cocaine and alcohol addiction. You know, and I'll never forget that day where I woke up and that was my rock bottom. And I woke up and I thought, my life is utterly empty and meaningless. I don't know if I want to go on the way that I am, or if I should just take my life today. And it was the first time in my life that I contemplated suicide. And that is the day I went to ask for help. And my dad was like, oh, you know, we'll send you to a horse farm, because I'm absolutely obsessed with horses. And, you know, you just need a break. You're probably just having a nervous breakdown. And my mother was like, I know what's going on here. And what's going on here is an absolute disaster. And we need to get Karen help as soon as possible. And I booked into rehab. And what I discovered there was that the jail that I had created for myself was far greater than any external jail I could ever have been in. The way that I had abused myself emotionally, physically, by restricting what I ate, by binging, by purging, if I had done that to anybody else, I would have been prosecuted. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you so much for that. I learned that the way that I had been treating myself was with the utmost disrespect. Nothing in my behavior showed that I had any respect or love for myself, and that was so sad. You know, I remember looking at myself for the first time in the mirror when I was in rehab, and I obviously hadn't looked at myself for a very long time, and I had no idea who that person was staring back at me. I was an empty shell. There was nothing in me. So through the process of being in rehab, and I spent 9 months there in primary, secondary, tertiary care, I started building a relationship with myself, probably the first relationship that I'd had since I was about 4 years old, you know. And it was a tough journey, you know. It wasn't an easy journey. Rehab looks like fun when you look at it at the movies, but it really is not. You're literally faced with this dark shadow of yourself, and you have to start making friends and start, you have to start getting to know yourself, every little bit about yourself, even those parts that you've been denying for so many years. So slowly but surely, I started building not only a relationship with myself, but my parents as well, and my friends and my family. And I was able to make amends for what I had done. And it was a slow process, but there was still something missing, because even though I was clean from my alcohol and drugs, I was still doing something. I was still soothing myself with junk food and sugar. So my dietitian in treatment had encouraged me to eat junk food in moderation. I was rewarded for drinking Coca-Cola and eating chocolates every day. But the problem was that I was still soothing myself with sugar. So even though I was clean from the illegal substances or the substances known to be addictive, I was still acting out in another way. I was still soothing myself and feeding my emotions with an external substance. So I'm going to describe the journey of a sugar addict to you, and I'm sure you guys can relate to this. And if you can, just type, yes, that's me, or something in the comments bar. So when life gets hard, is it your first impulse to eat, right? Tough day at the office, do you reach for a donut or a chocolate or a Coca-Cola? or that sugar fix to just lift you up. Fight with your partner or your friend. Who do you turn to? Well, I turn to Penny. Yes. Sheridine says, yes, that is me. You know, I turn to my best friend. I used to turn to my best friend, which is sugar and refined carbs and junk, because it made me feel good and it never spoke back. So these substances and experience trigger a release of dopamine, which makes us feel a brief burst of pleasure and satisfaction. So it actually really does lift us up. Yep, says Jenny and Elda. Yes, that's me. Suzanne says, yes, yes, yes. You know, and it makes us feel good. It actually really physically does that. And you may have enjoyed them guilt-free at some point. I mean, do you remember enjoying the sugar and carbs and cake and chocolate and sweets guilt-free at some point? But now you know consciously that this fleeting high of pleasure and fixation can't fix your root problem yet. You cannot resist the temptation of scoring one more hit before you resolve to buckle down and say, tomorrow I'll do it, right? How many of you can relate to that? Tomorrow I'll do it. Tomorrow I'll start eating healthily. Tomorrow I'll do exercise. Tomorrow I'll start showing up for myself in a bigger way than I am right now. And the come down is so bad. Yes, Sheridine, it is. And that guilt and that fear and that shame. Penny says you're in it right now. Sheridine says yes. Debbie says yes as well. So you desperately keep searching for your next fix, never quite satisfied for prolonged periods of time, because one is too many and 1,000 is never enough. Just one more, says Michael, and yes, that is the truth. And the problem with this behavior is that repeated exposure to these substances and experiences has the power to physically alter the neural structure and chemistry of the brain. These neurological toxic fixes can quickly exhaust and wipe out half of your brain's dopamine receptors, which in turn leads to increased appetite for your fix. And how frightening is this? You know, and I think, sheesh, I've done this to myself, but then I think, oh my gosh, we're doing this to our children. So are we on the path of creating little addicts by exposing food and sugar? Maureen says, I knew I was in trouble when I would wonder what next before I finished what I was currently eating. Absolutely. Vera says, yes. Sally says, yes, yes, yes. So sugar addiction hijacks the brain, and I had an interview with Dr. Nicole Avena. The replay is available for you guys to watch, where she explained the research she is doing in her lab in the States that shows that sugar hijacks the brain by releasing dopamine, by changing the neural pathways. It hijacks our brain. Yes. So Ilse says, with a happy, yummy, and stimulating effect sugar has on your brain and body, I believe it's connected to depression. I agree as well. Do you think the high sugar consumption by kids with raging hormones could be the cause of child suicides we are seeing more and more these days? She's also, that's a really, really good question. I think, you know, our environment contributes to it as well, but I think sugar definitely plays a much bigger role than we're willing to admit in many, many problems. Which is why they need stronger antidepressants, said Sheridine. Yes, even talking about it is exciting, right? Exactly, Sally, exactly. So sugar alters our brain's biochemical pathway, just like other addictive substances. And studies have likened sugar to being as addictive as cocaine. And whether we realize it or not, many of us use sugar and carbs to alter our brain chemistry to experience a rush of dopamine. And that is exactly what happens. So sugar addiction research by Dr. Nicole Avena. For something to be classified as an addiction, in the DSA, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, which is what psychiatrists use to diagnose a mental illness, it has to, meet certain criteria. And in Nicole Avena's animal study, she found that sugar fulfilled many of the criteria necessary to having an addictive potential. So binging, withdrawal, craving, cross-sensitization, the same stuff that would happen with my cocaine use and my alcoholism. I would binge, I would withdraw, I would crave, I would switch to something else like Valium. I would binge, I would crave, I would withdraw, I would crave, I would cross-sensitize onto something else like alcohol. And it was this constant stick. And where did it start? You know, for me, it started in childhood. For me, it started with sugar at an early age. Addicts have all the excuses. Exactly, Sally. Sheridan says, yes, I do that, especially that I know it raises the chemicals. Absolutely. So a trailer of fed up, and I hope your internet is going to hold up for this. Let's give it a try.
The epidemic here is worse than previously estimated, much worse.
The message has been pushed on us. It's your fault you're fat.
Shouldn't be so hard to get them to run around and play, right?
They have voracious appetites and they don't exercise enough.
It's about how active our kids are.
Forget about it. There are 600,000 food items in America. 80% of them have added sugar. Your brain lights up with sugar just like it does with cocaine or heroin. You're going to become an addict. You end up with one of the great public health epidemics of our time.
This is the first generation of American children expected to lead shorter lives than their parents.
I am 12 years old and my doctors have said that I am a statistic.
We're blaming willpower, and it's a crime.
Over 95% of all Americans will be overweight or obese in 2 decades.
We're toast as a country. The sugar industry is extraordinarily powerful. They're in business to make money, not to keep America healthy.
What if our whole approach to this epidemic has been dead wrong?
The government is subsidizing the obesity epidemic.
To place private profit ahead of public health. Systematic political failure.
By 2050, 1 out of every 3 Americans will have diabetes.
Those diseases are being driven by sugar.
This is the fundamental problem nobody's talking about in society.
We could cure 80% of the problem where they prepare the food in the school.
Tomato paste is a vegetable? Really?
Junk food companies are acting very much like tobacco companies did 30 years ago.
I would reject entirely any argument that they are in any way harmful.
Lying through their teeth.
Kids are being told the biggest lie they will ever hear in their lives.
Ronald McDonald never sells children. He informs and inspires through magic and fun.
If a foreign nation were doing that to our children, we would defend our families.
Years from now, we're going to say, I can't believe we let them get away with that.
We have to change the diet of America. It's all preventable.
How powerful is that, guys? I don't know if you've ever seen the Fed Up documentary. It was actually on South African TV recently on the DSTV channels, but it is a very powerful documentary. And I see Elder says the sugar film is also an excellent show, absolutely, to show the influence sugar has on the body. And Elder, strangely enough, I actually showed one of those clips as well, but I wanted to just keep it a little bit shorter for tonight. Sheridan says she has watched Fed Up. Yes. So I want to know, are you guys fed up, right? And not just are you fed up with being overweight or, the bad food supply that we're exposed to, but are you fed up of leading mediocre lives? Are you fed up of saying, you know what, this is my life, I accept it? Because I want to tell you that there is always something better out there if you are willing to fight for it. And I really, really believe that each one of us has so much potential and we don't even access most of it. So my mission isn't always to say, just cut sugar. My mission is so much bigger than that. It's about empowering you in body, mind, and spirit. And it's not about me. It's about deciding to stand up and show up for yourself in a way that you haven't been willing to before, because you've been scared, because you've been petrified, because you haven't had the support that you need. I believe that we are all capable of so much more than we give ourselves credit for, guys. So it's time to stand up. It is time to stand up. It really, really is. Stand up, show up, and be there for yourself every minute of every day and start leading by example. So I want to share a success story. This is Michelle Riley, and you can see here on the left-hand side of the screen, she's morbidly obese. She's tried every diet. She's tried every lifestyle plan. She's tried low-carb, high-fat. She's tried everything under the sun, and nothing works until she starts looking at the underlying issues related to her sugar addiction, to her comfort eating, to her binge eating, until she starts seeing why she's trying to push these feelings down, why she's trying to add all this extra padding around her, why she's not dealing with what's at the core of the problem. Because a lot of people can go on a diet and lose the weight and be fine, but there's so many of us who are continuously struggling to keep the weight off, struggling to get the weight off, struggling to really show up for ourselves, to admit that we are beautiful, powerful, magnificent beings. And that's why my book Sugar Free is about so much more than that. It's about looking at empowering body, mind, and spirit. And my mission is to tell you guys to stop digging your grave with your own knife and fork, and to start falling in love with taking care of yourself in mind, body, and spirit. Do things that serve you, not disempower you. Do things that uplift you, not put you down, whether that's relationships with others, but more specifically with yourself, whether that's the food that you put on your plate and in your mouth, whether that's the way you behave, you speak, you think, you feel. Start being aware of just how you treat yourself, and so many things will change, I promise you. Yes, good message, says Maureen. Believe it and be and live it. Absolutely. So my grandfather said, I saved the lives of 150 people through heart transplantations. If I'd cared about preventative medicine earlier, I would have saved 150 million people. We are in an era where we have access to so much information. We don't need to remain ignorant about anything. We have the choice to empower ourselves and really start believing in ourselves. So that's my book, Sugar Free. You can get it. There's an offer here if you want to order it. Let me stop the screen share. That was amazing. I really appreciate you guys being here for me to share my story with you, for you sticking around and listening to it. I feel incredibly privileged to be able to have the space to be vulnerable in. I was listening to a talk by Brené Brown today, and she talks about shame, and she talks about vulnerability. And she talks about vulnerability as being like you're walking down the street without any clothes on, and you're literally laying yourself bare. But by being vulnerable, you're showing up for yourself in such a big way. So that's what I sometimes feel like I do when I talk about my story. It is challenging for me. I worry about being judged. I'm human. I worry more about my kids being judged and my past being spoken about. But then I hear from people like you, and I hear people say, thank you. You gave us hope when we didn't have any. And I remember that somebody gave me hope when I didn't have any, when I was in rehab, and how that changed my life. Just knowing that everything was going to be okay, that I was going to get through this, and that there was light at the end of the tunnel. So I want to encourage all of you guys to stand up and show up for yourselves. What is it in your life that you want to change? Is there something you want to change? It doesn't have to just be about weight loss. It can be about life. It can be about being kinder and more gentle to yourself, thinking kinder, more gentle thoughts, speaking kinder words, because the way you treat yourself sets the scene for how everybody else will be treating you. So I'm seeing some comments and things here. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. Maureen says, when I studied alcoholism in junior high, I wondered if I was like an alcoholic with sugar. Yeah. Shame and guilt, secret eating. It took 40 years for me to have that validated and to know how to change. I went from impossible to possible to I'm possible. I love that. I didn't know if I could lose weight. I wanted to feel better. And that's exactly what it is. Ilza says, beyond fed up with these lies and pushing these bad foods on kids. Absolutely. Sally, the movie is Fed Up. It's an American documentary by Katie Couric. It has Gary Taubes, David Ludwig, Robert Lustig, all those great guys in it. Sally has a question. What are the chances of the big companies finding another substitute to get us addicted? Absolutely. So you guys know what the bliss point is, right? Who here knows what the bliss point is? The bliss point essentially I first read about in Michael Moss's Salt, Sugar, Fat book. And the bliss point is the perfectly chemically engineered combination of salt, sugar, and fat to make our dopamine response go, woo, it makes it light up and feel so, so good. It makes you feel so good, but it doesn't make you satisfied. So it makes you feel so good, but not satisfied. So it leaves you craving for more and more and more. Have you ever thought why you can have like 15 or 10 Oreo cookies, but you couldn't have the same amount of meat? Say, for instance, it's because those products are created to be addicted. They are chemical science experiments. They are created to make us want more and more because it drives profit. I mean, it makes sense, right? The book, Sue says, the book is on my wish list, will be my next purchase. Yay, I'm so excited. Thank you. Thank you, Sue, for the support. Maureen says, love your enthusiasm. You made me think of Brené Brown and hear you talking about it. Oh my God, that is the biggest compliment ever, because I was actually listening to her TEDx talk with Tim Ferriss today, and she was like, oh, and my husband's name's Steve, and I was like, oh, my husband's name's Steve as well. Like any little thing that I have in common with Brené Brown, I'm just thrilled. But you know what I love about her is that she's so honest about where she's been and what she's been through, and that she needed help, you know, that she needed to be like, yo, I need therapy, I need to go through this, and that she was able to face her demons, you know, that's beautiful. Sheridine says, you cannot be ashamed of what you have overcome. Thank you, Sheridine, I do appreciate that. Caroline says, I hope you know, Karen, how very much Jesus loves you. Feed on that. Thank you, Caroline. You know what? It took me a long time, but I'm absolutely earning that. I really do. Michael says, it's very powerful to share your struggle or journey with others. Thank you, Michael. I really appreciate it. Elder says, when will the book be in South Africa without ordering from Amazon? So, Elder, this book is different from the South African version that I wrote in that it's brand new meal plans and recipes. There's a chapter on sugar addiction by Dr. Nicole Avena. You know, there's some extra stuff in here. So the publisher who did my previous book is doing it. It should be available here mid-June. You can order it on Take a Lot or Loot. I'll send you the links in the email that gets sent to all of you with the replay details, so you can check it out there. Annalise says, what did you do when others ate cake around you and you to try, what did you do when others ate cake around you and you to try stop eating sugar? You know, to be honest, I actually just stayed away from those situations at that time. It was really hard. You know, for me, the thing is that I'm fine until I have the first bite, and I'm celebrating 12 years in recovery from my drug addiction and alcoholism this year. And thank God, touch wood, I have never relapsed by the grace of God, higher power, universal force. You know, I'm very blessed. But I know that if I have one sip of wine, I won't be able to stop. If I have one line of cocaine, I won't be able to stop. And the same with sugar. And it doesn't mean I don't lapse on sugar, because it's really hard and it's always around us. But, you know, I'm not just going to have one block of chocolate. I'm going to eat that whole slab. So I stayed away from it for a while, and it was difficult. I don't stay away from parties at all now, not at all. And most of my friends know, so they have strawberries or cucumber or carrot, or loads of people are doing sugar-free stuff though, so it's not just me being a strange person. You know, so yeah. It's just one of those things, or eat a big lunch before or a big breakfast and I'm not hungry, and then I go talk to people, or I stay away from the table with the snacks on it. Sue says, yes, she saw Professor Noakes discussing this, which is probably the bliss point that you're referring to, if I'm right, Sue. Cheryl says, thank you, special lady, and I say thank you, special lady. Ilza, you gave me a lot to think about. Thank you for who you are and being so awesome and brave. I really appreciate that. And you know what the thing is, right? You can only acknowledge or spot somebody in something in somebody else if you possess it yourself. So for all of you saying, oh, thank you, you're brave, you're courageous, it's the only reason you can say that to me is because you possess it yourself. So own that. You know, turn the mirror on yourself and just be like, you know what, I'm great, I'm amazing. And it's not egotistical and it's not arrogant. It's about being real and acknowledging and accepting that we are all amazing, but we need to use it responsibly. Michael says, question, I read on your website that your favorite cheat is a block of Lindt dark chocolate, 85%. How do you limit yourself on just one block? Michael, I don't actually, to be honest, really love the taste of it. It kind of tastes like brown wax crayon to me. So I actually haven't had that for a long time. That must be quite an old post. I actually prefer other stuff now. Like I love berries with cream. I'd rather do that kind of stuff. I don't, since I started the HELP program, which is the Harmony Eating and Lifestyle. It's called the Healthy Eating Lifestyle Program now, which is the first sugar and carb addiction inpatient program in the world in 2012 with Professor Noakes. So I've been on this low carb, sugar-free journey since 2012, way before banting was a word, or before Prof even met the authors from the Real Meal Revolution. We were working on this sugar addiction program together. And I must say, even though I've had lapses over time, my taste buds have definitely changed. So where before I still wanted the processed food and I still thought about the Coca-Cola and everything, there's no chance now that I would want a Coca-Cola. Sometimes I'll have an emotional reaction to something, and immediately that old trigger will come and I'll think, oh, a Coca-Cola would be nice now. And then I'll think, really, but would it? Would a Coca-Cola really be nice now? And I actually, to be honest, prefer sparkling water or something like that. So my taste buds have absolutely changed. My taste buds have definitely changed. Maureen says, the big deal is honesty with ourselves. Yes. Thank you for this. Is the book available in the US? I just found out. It will be on the 6th of August. On the 6th of August, it will be available in the US. I am feeling immensely blessed and grateful. I never wrote a book because I thought I was going to write a book. It just happened. So I haven't had expectation, which is probably the best way to go into anything. It's just been phenomenal. It's been amazing. I have been incredibly blessed. I really, really have. Tom Bunnell says, you're looking great. Do you realize how great an accomplishment it was? Your gathering in Cape Town last year, you brought together the greatest minds of this movement. They are. Congratulations to you. Your contribution in all of this is vital. Oh, thank you, Tom. I really, really appreciate that. Yeah, the old mutual health convention that we had here was phenomenal. I got to meet all my big low carb crushes like Mike Eads and Mary Dan Eads and Gary Taubes and Asim Malhotra and Steve Finney, and it was just like, it was absolutely phenomenal. It was very, very special. That is actually available online, so that's very cool. Tom says, I'm as addicted and compulsive as you are. Fabulous. Cheryl says, I treat myself super badly. No wonder people are walking over me. Exactly, Cheryl. And sometimes it's really hard for us to hear this kind of information because the realization comes as a slap in the face. It really, really does. But you know what? You can start your day over at any time, and you can start with baby steps to change your life, to start respecting yourself and to really start showing up for yourself. Start showing up for yourself. Treat yourself like you want to be treated by others. Treat yourself like you treat others and see how much things change. It's absolutely beautiful. Anneli says, thank you, gives me hope. Yay! Sally says, congrats on your 12 years. Thank you, Sally. I really appreciate it. Jenny says, I was low carbing successfully for 2 years after seeing Prof. Noakes at the Grahamstown Festival. Then I started HRT and bang, the cravings are back. I'm loath to stop the hormones, so what do I do? That is a very, very, very good question, Jenny. And I obviously would recommend going to an endocrinologist who understands the impact of sugar on hormones. It's not something that I can just necessarily give advice about, but I know that my co-author on this, Emily Macguire, qualified nutritionist, she's actually just about to start her PhD. She's pretty clued up on all of this, so I'm more than happy to give you her details. If you send me an email afterwards, you can reach me at love@thesugarfreerevolution.com. That sounds like a robot. Yay! Annalie, did you do an anti-candida diet as well? Do you recommend it? Oh my God. But low carb is anti-candida. Like, it doesn't contain any gluten or sugar or anything, so it's perfect. But I have tried so many different diets in my life. I was probably addicted to doing diets. So this is a lifestyle for me. It's not a diet. This is a complete and utter lifestyle change. So the anti-candida diet, I mean, yeah, I don't have that much fruit. If I do it very low sugar fruit, like berries, with fat, so with some cream or some full cream yogurt or something like that, which is divine, some cinnamon, some cacao, yay. So it's that's what I do. And Annalie, I don't know what, I think focus on real food as close to its natural state as possible. Don't get too carried away with any like one specific diet. Make it about a lifestyle, make it sustainable, make it real. We're all going to mess up sometimes. That's okay. It's about how we get up and dust ourselves off and carry on. Ilse says, thank you. I find anything sweet rather gross. Oh, you lucky person. Glad I'm not crazy. No, you're not. Michael says, question, stevia is on the RR green list. What are your thoughts on it as a sugar substitute? I restrict its use and am weaning myself off it. So, Michael, I actually don't go according to the Real Meal Revolution list. I don't really believe in them. I try not to count too many carbs or calories or grams or anything. I find that can become very obsessive. That's just my own experience from, being a past anorexic and all. But I don't love sweeteners. I had this discussion with Dr. Nicole Avena, the neuroscientist, the other day. Sugar stimulates the brain in the same way, stevia or sweeteners stimulate the brain in the same way as sugar does. So we are thinking we're doing something better, but it has the same chemical effect on the brain. Maybe not on the blood sugar and the glucose, but definitely on the brain. So if you really are a sugar addict, you're struggling with the sugar cravings, then I would say just try wean yourself off. We're all different. I prefer going cold turkey. Other people prefer going baby steps in the right direction. For me, that doesn't work. But if it works for you, great. I think it's so important that we each find what works for us. There's not one size fits all in life, I promise you. And we all learn by experience how to change. I mean, I had a webinar with Jimmy Moore last night, and he's been doing this since 2004, and suddenly his weight loss stalled, and he's very much in the public eye, so it must be really hard for him. So he's added intermittent fasting to his routine, and it's kickstarted his health and stuff again. Michael said, super, we'll buy your book in North America in August. Yay! Thank you, Michael. I really appreciate that. Bev, agree, I attended. It was so informative and I enjoyed it immensely. Yay, thank you, Bev. I really appreciate that. It was such a special time. It was probably one of the best times of my life. I absolutely loved it. Sally says, Dubai is suffering from such obesity with all the fast food and stuff. Definitely going to tap into the market and educate and reverse the effect with your help and information. Yay! With you every step of the way, Sally. I promise you, we hear so much about this stuff in Dubai, and I actually think we should come and do a conference there because I think it'll be phenomenal. Penny says, you are inspirational, Karen. Thank you. Thank you, Miss Penny. And so are you. So are you. Jenny says, the LCH conference in Cape Town was beyond superb. Yay! It was. It really was very special. Caroline, start showing up for yourself. Great advice. Yes, guys, I want to see you start showing up for yourselves. So what are you going to do tomorrow to start showing up for yourselves? What are you going to do? Michael says he's doing a sugar-free summer. I love that. Sheridine, Karen, when all addictions are stripped away, are you scared to discover the real you without all the aids? Oh my God, petrified. I was petrified. Do you know why? Because suddenly I had to start taking responsibility. I couldn't be this outcast. I couldn't be this reject. I couldn't be this person who didn't live up to their expectations. I couldn't be this person who didn't go in with my arms wide open and say, you know what, I've got these talents. I've got this amazing stuff. I need to use it. I suddenly had to start showing up for myself. And that was petrifying. But I promise you, after I took the steps, things started to change. And life is tough, Sheridine. Nothing is ever perfect. We all go through ups and downs constantly. But I can assure you, without addictive behavior being active, it is a hell of a lot easier to actually navigate it. It really, really is. I promise you it is. Michael says, yeah, baby steps don't work for me. No, big giant leaps, Michael, big giant leaps. Janie says, so interesting, read the alternative sweeteners. It's hard. Exactly. And I mean, I don't know what your thoughts is on recreating junk food from nut flours and xylitol and stevia and recreating bread from alternatives. I really prefer to stick to real food, real food, as close to its natural state as possible. And I also have a big thing about gut health. So really trying to, I like to call it pimp my gut. So really trying to improve my gut health, because I have a history of anxiety and depression. I really need to be careful about what I put in my body. And because I have such a sensitive system. I mean, I take a Panado, which is like a Tylenol. If I take a Panado or a Tylenol, I feel horrific the next day. I really do. My system is so sensitive that I really know that I have to be so careful about what I put in it. And Sue, thank you so much. Really needed this message today. I never was addicted in the past, but developed the self-loathing and eating junk. It was a downward slide and doubled weight in 10 years. Then saw the looks from others. Conversations like this make a huge difference. Absolutely, Sue. And I think the biggest thing is that I really want you to know that you're not alone. There's so many of us that look around and we compare our inside with other people's outside. So we look at other people and we think, oh, they've got perfect lives. They drive a nice car. Their kids are healthy and happy, and they're getting A's at school, and they're in a happy marriage, and they look so together, and they've got nice clothes, and they're thin. And the truth is that it's never like that. So stop comparing your insides to other people's outsides and start focusing on yourself and what you can do to empower and inspire yourself. Because if we all do that, things will change dramatically. They really will. Sheridine says, thank you. And I say, thank you back. Ilse says, really don't like substitute food. Real food is too good. Yay! Sally says, good idea. You're most welcome here, and eyes need to be opened. Absolutely. So I just want to thank you all so much for being a part of this webinar. I want to thank you for showing up, for allowing me to have the space to be me, to be quirky and show my strangeness and talk about the fact that I sometimes still get really anxious, and that I sometimes still get very scared, and that I don't always have the answers, but I know that everything's going to be okay because I choose to show up myself. And I really hope that you all start showing up for yourselves in a way that matters. So sending loads of love to you all. It has been amazing. I really appreciate it. Oh, Annalie has a question. What did you use as a substitute or answer or better way to soothe yourself when you emotionally needed it? I've got lots of exercise in the book that you can use to find the substitutes, but it's about something not food related. It's about finding something not related to food. So it's about finding something to soothe that need. So identifying the need first. So identifying the emotional need that needs to be soothed. So when I was feeling rejected, I used to have a Coca-Cola, for instance, because it made me feel better. Now I feel rejected, I phone my friend, or I speak to my husband, or I ask my children. No, I don't really ask my children for a hug. When I'm feeling something like that, I look for it from other people. I phone my mom, I talk about it, I discuss the problem, I see the part I played in it, and I look after myself. I see what I can do to make a positive change. That's what I do. And I stay away from food to feed my feelings. So yeah. Susan says, thank you for being open and honest. Thank you so much. Jenny, you're a precious soul. Yes, you are too. Maureen says, thanks for being real. I really appreciate it because you are real as well. Cheryl says, thanks again. Thank you. Annalise says, thank you so much. We need to have a plan. Absolutely. Planning and preparation is key to any success in life, not just eating. Any success in life, you have to plan and prep. So guys, I'm going to go. I've got to say goodnight to my boys. I really appreciate you all being here and showing up. I hope you have a lovely evening or morning or afternoon, wherever you are in the world. And I'll chat to you guys again soon. We've got the wonderful Dr. Robert Sivers on tomorrow night on a webinar. If you want to join us, he's all about sugar addiction. He's a bariatric surgeon that works with kids as well in the States. So he's a really interesting guy to have. And I will hopefully see you soon. Bye.